Hi, rats.
Welcome back to another video by myself, Myron's YouTube, and today we are going to be talking about my view on the Newcastle Takeover talks. Now, as you may all know, I am not a Newcastle fan. I know a lot of Newcastle fans as I'm from the northeast, but I'm a Liverpool fan. This is my view, my opinion on what's going on with Newcastle at the moment. What I'm going to include is some brief history about Newcastle, and then I'm going to get into the embargo about the takeover talks which have been speculated over the years, and I'm going to give my view on it. If you do like the video, like and subscribe, and let's get into the video. Now, you think Newcastle is a bit of a, how can I say, people say at the moment they are sitting mid-table in the Premier League, and they have been for a couple of years. They're a mid-table side who always beat the relegation spot. But do you know this? They are actually the 9th most successful English football club of all time. That's mad to think, but most of their success was pre-war, where they had won the England Championship 4 times: 1905, 1907, 1909 and 1927. They are 6 times FA Cup winners, winning it in 1910, 1924, 1932, 1951, 1952, the back-to-back, and 55. Still speaking of trophies for Newcastle, in 1909 they won the Charity Shield, that is now known today as the Community Shield. And if you can remember the cheeky little 2006 Intertoto Cup, the certificate for winning a dodgy competition pre-season. But don't forget, they also won the Intercity's first cup in 1968-69. But I don't want to say the name. Upstas Diola, I think that's how you pronounce it. They beat them. But the only trophy they haven't seemed to win was the League Cup. Now, the League Cup, they had been to the final once, they have been to the final, but they lost in 1976, which is a bit sad, although Newcastle have won the FA Cup 6 times and all that. The last time they have won a bit of silverware is the Intertoto Cup in 2006, and since then, they haven't really, spurred on for any big trophies. Oh yes, although they won the championship back in 2011 or 2016. They came up from the Premier League. Don't cut me some slack, Mara. Yeah, but with Newcastle, they've almost won the Premier League as well. You have to think infamously back to the 1995 season when the mighty Kevin Keegan was in charge. He brought in the likes of Fausto Asprilla, David Ginola, Les Ferdinand, Peter Beardsley. The team was stacked. Although he said, "I love it if we beat them, I love it," he couldn't beat them. Man United won the title in the 1995 season, and unfortunately they didn't come as close again. But through the 90s to the 2000s, Newcastle were infamously in the UEFA Cup, the Champions League. They were a big club. Don't get me wrong, they still are a big club. The fan base is massive. But you have to think, what makes a club a big club is a big chairman. And I'm not talking about his weight, I'm talking about the stacks in cash he's got. And Mike Ashley doesn't have none of that. He's a penny pinching arsehole. And it goes to show that the last time you were in European competition was the 2012-13 season when you were knocked out by Benfica in the Europa League, even though you got a 0-0 or a draw at your home ground, St James's Park. 52,000 capacity, 1892. Up the mags. I'm not a fan. But we're now going to go on to the senseless mogul of Mike Ashley, and let's talk about what's going on with Newcastle. Now, I feel like with Newcastle, they are used as a pawn in this. Now, 13 years ago, Mike Ashley bought the club, and over the years, he's used it as more of a business magnet to attract some hot property towards the club. He even tried to change the stadium's name from St James's Park, the classic name of the stadium, all the way to the Sports Direct Arena. Now, doing that for business is not a good savvy inclusion for the fans. We're going to talk about the most recent takeover, which has been plague of the news. This takeover is by Khashoggi. Khashoggi is part of a consortium in Saudi Arabia, part of the Saudi royal family, which have shares in Facebook and Disney, just to name a few companies. Compared to Mike Ashley, his shares and businesses are Sports Direct for all the chavs, Flannels for all the posh people, and House of Fraser for all the middle-aged mums and dads. But you gotta say, Mike Ashley is infamously known for trying to hype the fans up to put some ideas in their head. And I feel bad for they're used as a pawn. I feel like in a game of chess, I think they're used as a pawn, tactically, just to bring hype and bring up Mike Ashley's business. But it looks like it's going to be on the verge. Now, this is 2 months ago. This when it started off, an investor group led by the Saudi Saudi organisation Sovereign Wealth were berated with Amanda Starveley. Now, she was known for trying to buy the club last season for 250 million squid. Now, they both have joined together in fruition, and they've came in for a 300 million bid. Now, this was more of a sinking ship, like all the Newcastle deals, because Mike Ashley doesn't want to sell the club because he's too tight. But in my opinion, I feel bad for the fans, because every year they pay for the season ticket, they hoping for big signings to come in. Like, they spent £40 million on a sack of shite Joe Linton from Hoffenheim. The only goals he scored was against Rochdale in the FA Cup, and that goal he scored against, was it Bournemouth? That little tap in. I feel bad for you, Newcastle. I feel bad for you, honestly I do. But the thing is, if Khashoggi buys the club, are they going to do a Man City or a Chelsea when Abramovich and Sheikh Mansour came in? The minute Sheikh Mansour came in, trophies compiled into the club. When Roman Abramovich bought Chelsea, trophies came into the club. Big players, the likes of Sergio Aguero for Man City, Didier Drogba, Frank Lampard. Then for Man City, you've got like Edison. Their defence, the size of the same price as the Luxembourg military. It's mental. But what has hyped it up in 2 days ago? Richard Keys, you might know for It Is Just Banter. Basically, turn around, he's part of BN Sports. Now, BN Sports are ran by a Qatari company, and Qatar and Saudi Arabia don't like each other, 2 big tyrants. Now, Richard Keys wrote this. I'm going to read it off by the tweet I found. Any day now, the Premier League will nod through the Saudi bid for Newcastle, but I've been told it will happen Friday. He's been told that. The BPL chief, Richard Masters, he has said a resolution was close. Now, this means it could still happen, but will Mike Ashley sell the club? Will Amanda Staveley and Khashoggi buy it? Will my uncle leave me alone? Will I stop doing YouTube videos? We may not know. We just have to wait for the future. But for Newcastle, I really do hope you do get a takeover. My view on it is this: it's a piss take. Mike Ashley is mentally destroying the club. my view on the Newcastle takeover is that it needs to happen quicker. It needs to happen now. Because if Mike Ashley is in charge more, you could go either one or two ways. Back down to the Championship, or you could go to the top. With Mike Ashley's spending, like last summer, he brought in Alain Saint-Maximin from Nice, Joe Linton from Hoffenheim, Emil Kraft. He brought in Lazaro on loan, Danny Rose. He brought in Nabil Bentaleb. But still, he's bringing players in, but still, you need the class players to match up with the top 6 to get Europa League. But from my view on it is this: if you can get this big money takeover, it's going to be ropes for all the teams around you. You're going to be skyrocketing up to the top. And yeah, my view on it, just happen quick enough, please. Just get Mike Ashley out. United against Ashley. I've been Now Got, my rants YouTube, and I hope you've liked this video. If you want me to cover another topic, comments down below. Like, subscribe, and yeah, catch us all later on. Peace out.